Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and this is just a quick look at our um, daily chart with the envelope bands on it. You can see we bounced right at the midline of that previous range here. Um, we did have this channel working out. We had a break and a new low, and today was a huge rally, and it pretty much relieved the oversold. I mean, we're still oversold, but it looked like we were going to be severely oversold earlier today, and this rally really saved us. So even though prices went sideways quite a bit today, in the end we closed up almost on the high. That's rejection off that lower line. So if we get follow through, we may be close to seeing the end of this sell-off. Let's hope so. But that's what we're looking at today. We'll flip over to the intraday chart, the 2,000 tick chart, and give you a look at that one and go through the trades. Okay, real quickly before we get to the chart here, I'm going to take off. I know I'm taking off Thursday and Friday. I'm taking a little trip, and so I'm probably going to take off Wednesday to get ready for it because we leave early Thursday morning. I just don't think I'm going to have time. So I'm thinking at this point I'll probably just take half a day off Wednesday. So in that case, there would be a mid-morning chart Wednesday morning. Probably not a chart lesson Wednesday night, but I haven't decided yet. I'll keep you posted and let you know specifically when I'm going to be leaving and what'll be available and what won't be available. So, but definitely nothing on Thursday and Friday this week, and I'll be back Monday. So, anyway, let's get to the chart and get to the lesson here. You can see we spent most of the day going sideways. I expanded this. Originally, I had the lows right along here because it's where most of the bounces were, but notice we went lower, came back up, and then went lower still yet. Uh, so I ended up expanding this, and you can see that midline was pretty much in play all day. So I believe this to be correct. And we did break out here. We failed the original breakout, like is what usually happens, and then we went higher and closed. We closed pretty much very close to the high of the day. Actually, we're not closed yet. There's probably 9 minutes left to go in the day. So it looks like we're going to close real close to the highs of the day, the rate we're going here. So not a lot of trades today. These kind of ranges are hard to trade. There's no consistent turn areas, no consistent bounces or turns or anything like that. So they're really kind of hard to trade, I'll be honest with you. So there's not going to be a lot of trades today. It's just one of those kind of days. And then once we got the rally going, there's a few trades up through here, but we just, you can't go long into this stuff, and there just weren't really setups, and before you knew it, the day was over. So, or we were into 2:30. So let me zoom in here, and We'll work through the trades, and we'll wrap today up. Shouldn't take too long because there's not many of them. But we were just kind of chopping along here early. And you basically have this double bottom here. And this is a higher double bottom. You can see we're making higher highs and higher lows. And I'd call that a double bottom. And then you try to go a little short once. Let me zoom in here just a little more where it's a little easier to see. You try to go short once, and you went higher. Then you turned down again and failed. And it pretty much trapped people. And that's a second entry long, a failed second entry short. I like that trade. As long as you got room to get out before these highs, I like that trade. And you can see it just took off, went straight back up, made a new high. Actually, it's not a new high. It was a higher high, but not a new high. So let me phrase that. This high was higher than any of these last few highs here. It didn't quite reach this one. You can see right where the closes were. That's pretty much where we got to. And then we make a lower high here. And then you make a second entry. There's a failed second entry long, triple test basically, then a second entry short. Notice there's a new swing low. First entry, and it broke higher. It just ticks higher by one tick right there and then turns down. So I like going short on the lower high here just because it's a triple test as well. If you weren't so sure about that one, that one's real close to be, you could be almost argue it to be green but it does look like we had a close outside. It's just not very convincing. So I like the trade regardless, but some of you may look at it as a little more aggressive depending on your skill level. And so if you did, I wouldn't argue with you. And then it breaks higher and turns down. If you didn't go short here, definitely go short here. And if you just catch that one trade, your day's probably over because this thing just takes off. It does come back here. So depending on how you entered and where you entered, you may not have got a runner, unfortunately. You probably got something out of that. I mean, just that one bar. I mean, there's 4 points there, so you should have got some type of runner regardless. You may not have been able to catch this whole run, but you should have gotten something there. And then, of course, we bounced down here at the lows. I just don't see any way to enter any of that. And then you're just chopping sideways here. That one's tempting, but it's just such a big bar, and it's really not the signal bar. The signal bar is this bar, and that one's 22 ticks, and then this one is 31 ticks. So you just really can't get in that trade. And of course, it gives you a break there, runs on down. And unfortunately, there's a nice two-legged correction here and confirmation at the trend line, but the signal bar is no good. You do get a lower high here. I think you got to wait on, see if you get a reversal, which comes here. This is just right into the EMA, and this is what will happen to you. And sometimes you may not get out before it bounces. And so you just wait and see if you get the reversal and the failed second entry long. And notice it breaks higher and turns down instantly. Again, I don't know if I wait till I'm way down here to go short. You could, but I'd probably trade this one as an engulfing bar because it is going to trap people. And it just continues to work lower. So again, you probably wouldn't have got a runner here, not a big one anyway. And there's another lower high here, but it's right into that double bottom. You might look at that as a second entry short, but I just think it's a little too iffy to do that. Of course, you gave your break, and you move down here, and you're just bouncing down the lower side before it bounces. And we really struggled to go higher, and then once you have this little failed breakout right here, this thing takes off. And that's what will happen a lot of times on these reversal type days. And I talked about that in the mid-morning chart that, hey, if you get some kind of failed break lower, unfortunately you don't get a chance to enter because the signal bar is no good. But if you get one of those opportunities, they sometimes lead to big rallies. And so this one just gave you 2 legs up basically. And notice you're working up, you get your break, and then 2 legs up. You might consider going short. We came back and retested the closing from Friday. And so you might consider going short there. It's a failed breakout. There's a little congestion area here, and it's a failed break out of that. So if you got enough room back to right here, that far away from the EMA, you'll probably work back to the EMA. You could probably argue for that to be green. I think it was a little aggressive because we got a pretty good rally going on here, and we might have folded over into a flatter channel. So you just have to be careful there. Now, if you did catch this one, you probably get a runner on it. And then we correct back. Unfortunately, no setup here. And there's a couple of legs down here. I didn't mark them, but that's what you want to kind of watch for on days like this where you're turning and not getting consistent turns. But finally, we made a new low, and you get a first entry and you get a second entry right at the main trend line. It confirms it. It's also right at the midline. You'd expect prices to come back and try to test that after pushing through. And they do, and they run straight back down. And notice the last couple of moves down, we couldn't get back to the trend channel line. That's a hint that, hey, we might get a break soon. And of course we do. And this is another one that you get a break and a new high. But I'd really want to wait on a lower high, which doesn't come to way over here. But if it was a perfect signal bar, maybe you enter there. But it's just a little risky. Then, of course, you move on down here and you get a second entry short way away from the EMA. Notice those 2 legs back. And you did make a new low here, but it wasn't much of one. So there's a good chance you'll probably, and you can see the 2 measured legs down there. We went a little further again. This thing was really selling off early before we found some support and took off. And of course, we bounced. Notice there's no rejection there. Be careful going long on that kind of stuff, even if you're looking for a reversal. And again, there's just no rejection here. It does finally take off on this last trout. Notice there's a new low right there, and you get a first entry, second entry that fails. I didn't mark this one because it's right into those highs, but everything's played out over here. If you drug your range down, you probably can see that it looks like this is the low. And so it's one that you might argue to be green. I still think it's aggressive. And you probably couldn't get in it anyway. Notice how it gaps over and just keeps going. This just looks a little congested to me. So it doesn't really set up like a failure, even though it is a failed second entry short. So for that reason, I didn't mark it. But then we're just kind of working sideways here, and there's no consistent highs or lows. Prices we're making higher highs here, but we're making lower lows. So it's just really weird setups, and prices just don't know what to do. People are confused. Is it reversing? Are we just going sideways temporarily before we go lower again? It's really hard to say. And then we run up here, we come back, we get a first entry, and then you turn down. There's a second entry long right there, and it is right off that key entry point. It looks a little congested. It's another one you could argue to maybe be green. It is a second entry long right at the key entry point. It's a nice reversal type bar. I think you're better off to wait on the higher low or a failure, and they just don't set up right. And notice we'll come all the way back down here and test it again. You might argue that's a triple test, but to me, there's just not enough space there. I'd probably look at that as a first test, but you still may want to take it. It's a really nice bar. But right here, when you get this triple test and that nice bar, as long as you got room to scalp out, take that trade. Of course, it runs straight up, quick, easy move, and then it runs straight back down again. You make a lower high here and then a lower low, and it's just real. And this is so congested here, even though we're getting a bounce there way away from the EMA. I just don't think it's worth risking. And then you run back up here, and then you're just kind of chopping along. And again, you're making higher highs and you're making lower lows. And then finally you make a lower low, but it's just hard to trade this. And you got to be really careful. You just get chopped all to pieces. So I don't see anything there I like. Sorry, I meant to turn my ringer off and forgot. I just don't see anything there I like. And then it bounces, pulls back, tests that breakout area. We're going higher. And again, I don't see anything that really looks tempting here. There's a failure here, but it's too far away from the EMA, right into that high there, right into the close where I think we turned down right in there a couple of times previously. You can see right there where we turned down. So I'm not crazy about going long right into that. It works and continues to go higher. But then we come back. Notice you try to go lower there, and then you come back and you test it once, twice. So you get a triple test there, and look, that's a nice bullish bar. Again, it just keeps going. So I don't know that you get in this trade. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. It's going to be difficult. But it's a good trade if you can get in it. And runs up, makes a new high, and then you try to go short twice, and then it runs, and then suddenly it's running straight down again. Just no consistency. From here on, it got a little more consistent, but even this is choppy sideways stuff, even though we're working higher. So just a real hard day to trade. It really is. And notice you're working down here. You get a close outside, new low. And you do get a reversal pattern, but it's below the EMA. It's congested, so there's no entry there. You pull back, and look how bearish that move is, and it bounces, and you get no signal bar, and that takes you into 230. So it's just one of those days where even though we ended up closing extremely high, and we really traded up from about 10:45 this morning all the way into the close. So, it's a nice reversal. We'll see if we get some follow through tomorrow. I'm not sure that we will. It looks like we should. But, it's been hard to call this thing lately because it is a lot of bearish news hanging over the market. And it doesn't take much to spook people and send it running lower again. So just be aware and trade carefully. So, but yeah, that's what I'm looking at. And I'm not going to try to drag this out any. I'm going to wrap it up, and we'll be back again to do it tomorrow. Again, if you're coming in late, I will be taking off Thursday and Friday for certain, and maybe either all of Wednesday or a half day Wednesday. I'm just not sure yet, but I will keep you posted. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.